Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Awesome with Cody. As usual, I'm your host, Cody, and today we are starting a brand new theme for May of 2021. As I briefly mentioned last episode, it's going to be on horror franchises. This is in honor of a couple things. One, Spiral from the Book of Saw, which will be coming out here in the United States in theaters and on HBO Max Friday the 14th of May. And then also part of this will be the new Conjuring 3, or Conjuring the Devil Made Me Do It, which is the third in the Conjuring main story, but in the Conjuring universe is like Annabelle and the Nun, I believe, as well. I'll go into that later actually next week when I talk about those ones. So, but today we're talking about Saw franchise. Saw franchise is actually technically right now 9 movies, 10 are planned as of right now. Spiral from the Book of Saw will be the 9th movie in theaters, and I'll go through all of them real quick. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail, but I'm going to go over the movie's brief history. So in 2004, Saw was released in theaters. It was directed by James Wan. It was written by... Well, the story was based on a story that Lee Winnell and... Winnell? I think it's Winnell. And James Wan came up with, and the screenwriting was done by Lee. Lee's also stars in the movie as Adam. Throughout the... well, he's in the first movie and then archival footage and a couple of the other movies. But he also produced the movies as well. Or executive produced, I think, is really what his role was. But anyways, followed up that in the next year, because they rapid-fired these, literally the first 7 of them once a year in October, right away. Like, they just, like, as soon as Saw 1 did extremely well at the box office, on a meager budget of $1.2 million, it raked in $103.9 million, easily paying for itself and at least the next 2 sequels that I know of. $4 million for 2, $10 million for 3, and $10 million for 4. So yeah, easily the first 4 movies. I mean, even probably down to the 5th too, because it was 10.8. Yeah, and plus they were all making money at that point. So you know, they did alright for themselves. So like I said, Saw 1 in 2004. Saw 2 came out in 2005. Saw 3 came out in 2006. And then so on and so forth. Saw 4 was 2007. Saw 5 was 2008. Saw 6 was 2009. Of course, Saw 3D or Saw 7 was 2010. Then there was a 7-year gap, and then they made Jigsaw, which is the 8th movie in the franchise. And then this year, 2021, 4 years after the release of Jigsaw, will be Spiral from the Book of Saw, which brings back Darren Lynn Bousman to direct, when it actually has Chris Rock making his first appearance in pretty sure any horror movie that I can think of, but he's in this one, and I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm not going to go over all the stars of these movies because there's a ton of them. The big names: Tobin Bell is Jigsaw / John Kramer throughout the breadth of these movies. The only other long stint run of character that's been... Well, actually, I wouldn't say she was in all of them. She was in archival footage of several of them, but Shawnee Smith plays Amanda Young, who's the main character in 2 and 3, and a sub-character in 1. Then you have Carrie Elwes, Lee Winnell in the first one, Danny Glover, of course, is in the first one along with Ken Leung and Michael Emerson, who is plays a small but pivotal role in Saw 1. But yeah, so Saw 1, kind of basically where everything started off from. For the folks who don't know what Saw is, weird, but Saw, the original premise, is a man by the name of, he's nicknamed Jigsaw. Actually, I don't technically... They do call him the Jigsaw Killer because he cuts out a jigsaw piece of his victims, or of the dead people. Anyways, it doesn't matter. John Kramer, played by Tobin Bell, is a man who's out to take people who have basically not given up, but basically have squandered the life they've been given. For example, Gary Elvis's character is a doctor who is essentially cheating on his wife with a med student that is working with him, and he's also the one that basically callously goes about and gives John's diagnosis of terminal brain cancer to the students right in front of him without any care or remorse in it, and he basically feels shunned by this. And then he seeks out other people that have also squandered their life in different ways. One who is Amanda Young, played by Shawnee Smith. She is a drug addict who, after being a recovering drug addict, relapses. And so he goes to teach her a lesson by basically putting her in this situation where it's either... fight for your life or die a horrific, probably pretty painful death in what's referred to as a reverse bear trap. And the other ones are that they show in this one is a guy who basically cheats the system, and he basically uses false claims of injuries to get out of work and get paid. And so he traps him in a room with numbers scrawled on the wall and slow-acting poison in his system. And the only antidote is inside the safe that's locked in the middle of the room. He has to find the combination, put it on there, and the only light source he has is a small candle. The caveat is, not only does he have a slow-acting poison, but his body is completely slathered in a very flammable chemical. So if he gets too close or too careless with the flame, he goes up in flames. Spoiler alert, he goes up in flames with a snarl on his face. And there's a guy who is a glutton who, I'm not going to go through all these, but basically he gets trapped in a room with razor wire because he committed suicide but didn't really commit suicide because he kind of didn't really go through with it and that sort of thing. Anyways, if you watch it, you'll understand more. And so he basically puts forth to essentially help cure these people of their lack of empathy and lack of wanting the life they've been given, because his life is running short. And then later on you find out in other movies that his wife's life was taken early as well by someone else. And then they go from there. Saw 2 expands the cast of characters and brings in a new director for the movies. That is Darren Lynn Bousman, who, like I said earlier, comes back to the franchise after directing 3 movies, Saw 2, 3, and 4, and has come back to work with Chris Rock on making Spiral from the Book of Saw, and kind of bring the franchise back around because they got kind of wonky, including Jigsaw, which was not really a great movie, but really... The movies, if you really want to concise everything, I would say 1 through 4, and then hopefully Spiral. I don't know. I don't even know if Spiral will... I mean, I think because all of them, they are in chronological order in a way. You'll understand if you watch these. But they tell the story of, and I don't think they're skipping any of them. I think they're keeping them all intact in the timeline for... these particular movies. So Saw 1 through 8, which will be Jigsaw, will be still all continuity within the Saw franchise when Spiral comes out next week. Sorry, I almost had the hiccups there. So Saw 2, like I said, broadens the scope a little more. Still includes a couple characters brought back. Tobin Bell so far has been in all of them. I don't know completely about Spiral yet. He's listed as being Jigsaw still, but if you've seen these movies, spoiler alert, Jigsaw or John Kramer dies in 4. I can't remember which one it is. He's actually dying of his brain tumor and doesn't really, make it out. You can watch him. And oh, by the way, if you have HBO Max right now, Saw 1 through 7, so 3D, I believe are on there. I don't know if Jigsaw is. I can check right now while we're talking. So Paige and I are actually going through and watching all of them before we see Spiral, which hopefully we can see next week, but I'm not too sure, timing and stuff. But you can watch all of them on there. Jigsaw is not on there right now. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and what they refer to as Saw 3D is also Saw the Final Chapter is available on HBO Max. So if you have that service, you can watch them all the way up to 7, and enjoy them as much as possible. There is so like I said, Jigsaw is actually not that good. I don't remember where I watched that one. I know I watched it somewhere, but I don't remember where it was that I watched it. I don't know. Actually, I think some of them are on Netflix too, and I'm going to check right now while we're talking about it, because, you can watch them as well on there. No, Saw is not on there, but the Conjuring movies 1 and 2 are. I know that for a fact because I see them right in front of me. So if you want to watch those after I talk about those next week, you can as well. Let's see. Jigsaw's not on there either, so not on the Netflix. So HBO Max has, like I said, the first 7 Saw movies. You can watch them there. And then, find the other ones somewhere. Maybe be on Amazon. I'm not too sure if they are, or Amazon Prime. I'm not too sure if they are or not. But yeah. So my recommendations, if you want to have a enjoyable time and then the story goes through pretty well, I would say 1 through 4. If you're into the gruesome and the gory, continue on 5, 6, and 7. Jigsaw, you can't. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know how much Jigsaw ties into Spiral, but you can watch it if you want. I did not enjoy it as much because it felt kind of too similar to a couple of the other ones without being clever. There's a twist at the end, but it's really not that hard to see coming. And some pretty elaborate traps in that one too. But it's fun times. Jigsaw or John Kramer died in 3, and then 4 he was a corpse that they found a cassette tape in. If that makes any sense to you. So yeah. Anyways, I think that's really all I have. There's a lot of people involved in this. I'm not going to go over everybody who's in it. The big main players, because they're the ones that directed and wrote the good ones, in my opinion. I could be wrong. If I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't enjoy, but the ones I enjoyed and the ones I recommend to watch would be 1 through 4. And then if you want to check out the other ones, you can. They're available, like I said, 1 through 7 is available on HBO Max, and probably, available other ways too. I just don't know if I didn't see any other ways. That's how Paige and I are watching 1 through 7. Did I buy Jigsaw? Is that what it was? Man, I hope I didn't buy Jigsaw. That would be depressing. I didn't buy it. I watched it somewhere. Doesn't matter. And then I'll be going to see Spiral in the movie theaters, hopefully next week, if not the week after. Should be fun and good times. Like I said, the people who kind of created this are Lee Winnell and James Wan. James Wan, of course, directed the first one. The second, the third, and the fourth were directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. The fifth one was directed by David Hackle, I think is how you say his name. Then Kevin Grutert, I don't know how to say his name. I'm terrible with names in general. Directed 6 and 7, and then the Spear brothers, who I don't even know what else they've done. Sprague brothers, I'm not too sure how to say that name. They did Jigsaw. Darren Lynn Bousman came back for Spiral, like I said earlier, and then so the Sprague brothers, I'm not too sure how to pronounce their names. They're the one that did Daybreakers. That's cool. All right. They did Winchester, which I never saw either. Predestination. What the hell is Predestination? Oh, Ethan Hawke. I never saw one either. So they've done a few things that I haven't seen. But yeah, so that's about it. For this week's episode, talking about Saw briefly. Tune in next week. I'll be talking about the Conjuring universe. Then there's I chose, what other ones did I choose? I don't have my list right now in front of me. Basically, so I thought I had it listed on my phone, but apparently not. This week we Saw. Next week will be the Conjuring. The week after will be Insidious, I do believe. Once I find my list, I'll be able to tell you. And then the week after wasn't The Purge. It was something else. I'll let you know next week when I find my list of where I put it. I thought I had it on my phone, but I can't find it. It's not on the normal note I usually have for these, so who knows what I do with it. Anyhow, that's it for this week's episode of The Awesome with Cody. I have been your host, Cody, and like usual, I always say at the end of these, let's be awesome.